can't get that thought out of his mind. So there you go, Kevin. How you like me now? Anyway. All right, got a ride. Got to turn around and make my way back. And here we go. So we're back to doing the live stream ride. Hopefully we'll get somebody that wants to play. And this is an XL ride, and so I'm guessing it's probably going to be somebody going to the airport or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm picking them up at Union Station. Penn Station. Yep. Picking them up at Penn. Probably going a short distance to a hotel. And should be interesting. So let's get our camera up a little bit. You're not so used to having me this big, are you? Get to where we can. Just, you know, the camera, it's my magnetic personality. It just keeps going this way. So we are picking up Enrico. How does that thing know I haven't turned yet? The GPS. Pretty interesting. I came in to Penn Station and
in a quarter mile, make a right turn on Penn Station using the upcoming right lane.
I'm wondering if I might not get more people that say yes if I say that I do a live stream talk show, because that's really what it is, rather than them not really doing a live stream. Could mean anything. Could mean we've got flying midgets that are swinging on trapezes or something. But they just have no idea. It's interesting that, the camera out the front, you know what? I'm going to try to give you a full view on that. We're going to make it a little smaller.
Right lane, make a right turn on Penn Station, then make a right turn to stay on Penn Station.
But here we go. So Enrico, where are you, babe? There he is. We're going to put that on here as we pull up, just so we can Enrico?
Yep. How you doing?
Welcome. Hey, I have a quick question to ask you.
Yeah.
Do a live stream show in here. It's a talk show where I just share with all the passengers that I have. If you don't want to be on it, you just have to say so. If you do, I'm going to remove the thing from the camera, and we can have a conversation if that's all right.
Sure.
All right, cool. Welcome. So if you look around the corner, if you just peek right around here, you can see what it looks like on the internet.
How many followers you got?
Right now, almost 40
Okay.
on Twitch.
What's
So
your theme?
Well, here's my card. I'm trying to figure out what this is telling me to do here.
You want to take, was it 83 downtown?
Actually, I think I got to turn. right here.
Yeah, right, and then come back down.
I see you've made this trip before.
Way too often.
I've got a new phone and it's using a different GPS than I'm used to. I think it's using the Google app, and so it's a little bit unusual. So where are you coming in from?
Philadelphia.
Philly. All right. So you've been up since early this morning.
At 5 o'clock. Not too bad.
Wow, that isn't too bad actually.
Uber John. Okay.
Yeah, we call this Uber John's Rodeo.
What happens when you try Lyft?
Well, then it's still Uber John's Rodeo because I was an Uber driver before Lyft, and when Lyft came onto the scene, the big issue was that I lived down in Annapolis, in the Annapolis area, and the problem is that Lyft wasn't getting any riders then, so it was I turned on the app and I got 4 rides over the course of the first year.
Wow. Okay.
So as Lyft became more prevalent, it
Sure.
became back and forth. And you really kind of have to do both in order to maximize your time.
Yeah.
So
there's
actually,
more of that.
on the Apple phones that I have don't do this, but now that I've got an Android, I bought a Moto phone a few days ago. There's an app that's available. It's called Maestro, and Maestro allows you to have both apps on, and it controls what's happening. So what happens is it turns both of the apps on, and whoever gives you the first request, it'll automatically accept it and turn the other one off.
Huh.
And then when the ride ends, it turns the other one back on so that you've got the ability to accept either. Yeah.
That makes sense.
So it really makes it, totally automated.
Does one pay more than? Is one better for?
No, not really. They both have gotten they both have lowered their rates for the drivers over time, but they've kept the amount that they charge the same. And they did that by kind of just giving the drivers, saying this is how much you're going to make per mile. Before, it used to be the drivers would get 80% when I first started, and then it went down to 75 for anybody new.
Okay.
And then so no matter what the charge was, so if they had booking fees or anything like that, now they've got 3 or 4 fees that they charge outside of what they pay us on, and it just kind of it doesn't really matter which one you use. And that's probably been the biggest problem with Uber being able to dominate, is when they tried to lower their price in order to compete with Lyft. Lyft was doing lower rates than Uber in the beginning.
Yeah.
Is that all the drivers said, well, if you're both going to pay the same, we're going to do both.
Sure.
So what brings you to town?
Work.
What do you do?
I do HR work. I do talent management, leadership development.
Okay.
So I work for a company. It's a big presence here in Baltimore. Bigger presence, I guess.
Was it like a company like Workforce or something like that?
It's Exelon.
Exelon. Okay, I've heard of that. We can make it through here. Not sure what that guy was thinking, but I guess he thought the truck up there. So is Exelon bigger than Workforce? Or is it?
I don't know much about Workforce. I don't know how big Workforce is. Exelon is the biggest energy company in the country.
Okay. Oh, so you work for the company. You're just in HR for that company.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were saying that you work for a company that manages HR for a lot of companies.
No.
That's what Workforce does. They're kind of a company that a lot of companies use for their HR, and getting.
I've heard the name. I don't know how big they are. I mean, there's like Workforce, there's Workday, there's Work, like a bunch of versions of Work.
Maybe it's Workday that I'm thinking about.
Could be.
I was working for Terminex
Okay.
as a home inspector, and that was the place that we had to go to check all of our pay stubs and if you had issues and all the different things that go along with HR. Also, if you know a better way to go than what the GPS says, I'll follow whatever directions that you normally take.
This goes right. You make a left here and then make a right onto 83. What is that up there? 83, right?
Yeah.
I know they opened up the bridge to Point Street. Used to be you have to kind of drive around to get there, but I don't know if the map has that.
Yeah, I don't know.
So how many total viewers, do you know how many different people
I've had over 2,000 live views, different viewers.
Okay.
But I've got, right now, I live stream on Twitch, and I've got, I think I have 43 or 45 followers, people that want to be notified when I'm live, and hopefully we're going to get that number way up at some point. But I've got about 200 plus videos on YouTube. So I live stream on Twitch, then I make highlights and I switch them over to YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.
So what are some of your highlights?
It's all kinds of different things. Every video that I have on YouTube is named. In other words, so I've got picking up the Mud Princess at the Preakness, where all these girls got in and they were all covered in mud because it was all raining. I've got one girl was going to a chiropractor, and so that one's called Chiropractic Karaoke because they started doing karaoke while we were in there. So there's, we had some people dressed as pirates that were going to a pirate ship dinner down here, and they were really funny. And then, driving through the cobblestone streets of Fells Point, the camera was shaking, and it was, so that one also has earthquake in the title. But, just funny and fun kind of stuff. You can kind of get a general idea. And some stuff is just one thing that happens during the ride. So the video might be 15 minutes, and the title of it is The Horn. And this is the horn. This is especially for people that are doing stupid things like blocking traffic, trying to make an illegal left-hand turn, or taxi cabs that are pulling some stuff, and you just take it out, let them know that you're there. That's more for fun. I mean, this is my frustration tool. I use it. I usually only use it with taxi drivers in DC and Baltimore, but it can be really funny. There's this one area where I live where there's a left-hand turn that goes at the end of the light cycle, and it's a short one. So maybe 6 or 8 or 10 cars can get through there, and it's off the main road, and it's turning left into the neighborhood. And so there's a lot of times that people will sit at the light, and you're 6 or 8 cars back, and nobody's paying attention. They don't realize it's a late light, and then next thing you know, you see the light turn green, and nobody's moving, and you're like, that's when it comes in handy because they can hear you from the back.
Yeah.
But then once you make that turn, there's also like a little turn to the right where there's an illegal left-hand turn that people like to turn and go down there. And when they do that, and then they can't, and then they stop and they block traffic, and it's crazy. But I run into that nearly every day, but it's pretty fun.
How many hours a day do you drive?
Well, lately I haven't been driving too much. I have a friend that started a company, and he asked me to help him. And so I've been kind of offline, but normally about 30 to 40 hours a week.
Okay. All right. Baltimore? You said Baltimore, DC?
Normally I start off in Annapolis, and I end up in either DC or Baltimore every single time. It just, it's just the way it works out. Everybody's going either to the airport or someplace, and once they're on their way to the airport, once you get to the airport, all bets are off where you're going.
Right.
I've had some days where I go to Washington, some days Baltimore, some days both multiple times.
Wow.
So you never know. This is an Uber adventure. How often do you come down to Baltimore from Philly?
Probably once a week.
Really?
Yeah, on average. Like sometimes it's a couple times, and then maybe I'll miss a week. It's not that bad. It's an hour, and I mean, door to door, well, I left my house at 5:30, 5:40. I'll get to my office here at 7:45. 2 hours and change.
Wow.
Not that bad.
No, that's pretty good. I actually picked up a guy at a job over on Gibson Island, which is in Pasadena. It's on the west coast of the bay, but as far east as you can go. And he commuted from Fairfax, Virginia.
To Pasadena?
Yeah. It was like 2 hours, 2.5 hours drive to get there. And then one day I had a woman that was she lived in one of the small countries in South America and commuted up here. Like, no kidding. I don't know if she owned the business or what was going on. It was that was crazy. And I've had several people that actually commute from like Charlotte or there was one woman that commuted from, I think it was it was either Charlotte or some other city that's not that far from the airport down in North Carolina, and she commuted every day. She would fly in. She was an executive of some company here in Baltimore. She said it would take her an hour from the time she left her house to the time that or an hour and 20 minutes to the time that she walked into her office. I'm thinking, how do you do that? She said the flight's only half an hour, 45 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, I guess you get it down. I had a friend who lived in Chicago and commuted to Detroit. They plane every day. But they also had car services. You know, they walk out the door, the car's there, they get to the airport.
Right.
Not carrying anything, you walk right through security. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I commuted to New York from Philadelphia for 5 years.
Wow.
That was 2.5 each way. I guess you work. You know, I mean, it wasn't like I wasted. It was I could be 2 hours in the office, or I did 2 hours on the train. So it still worked. Just different place.
Yeah.
But it was probably very productive because I didn't have any distractions.
That's true.
Yeah.
My son actually just took a flight from Detroit to Chicago. He was out actually he was in northern Michigan for a wedding, and then he wanted to go to the World Video Game Championships for a game called Dota that's out in Vancouver. So he had to hop between Detroit and Chicago, and then the flight from Chicago out to Vancouver.
Dota.
Yeah, Dota. It stands for Defense of the Ancients.
Okay.
And you know, you've never heard of it. I had never heard of it before they were playing it.
Yeah.
But the World Championships that they have in Vancouver, the prize pool is $11 million. First place pays $11 million to the winning team. They're 5-man teams. So each guy gets a little over $2 million.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Is there an entry fee?
Oh, you know, I don't know. You have to qualify through all these other different tournaments leading up to that, and so you have to be at a pretty high level with these kids that do it.
Yeah.
And but I had no idea. My son went out there to basically find other guys that are looking to team up. He's really good at playing that game. So
you make a left here.
Okay.
If you go straight, then it's a one-way when you end up on the other side. So you follow these cars.
Yeah, notice the GPS.
Yeah.
It's wrong so much now. I don't understand what's happened to it. It used to be really good, and over the last 6 months or a year, it just seems like they've got somebody reprogramming it.
Yeah, make a right at the stop sign. Yeah, video games. I mean, I remember playing video games as a kid, but now it's an industry. It's a college programs.
It is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, and then they've got kids that are live streaming their gaming, making $100,000 a month.
Right. People pay to watch someone else play a game.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
All right, you are good to go. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate you participating and having some fun. Appreciate it.
Exciting,
You can go on and find it on YouTube a little bit later on in the day.
All right. Great.
All right, take care.